cried far too long.
I just want to see him, that's all.
Don't let me out of your sight.
Don't threaten me, Margaret.
These people are abnormal.
Don't exaggerate. Oh, by all means. They're clients, Margaret.
Hello, Scenesters. For Valentine's Day, I've been wanting to cover one of the greatest ladies' men ever in existence, from a beloved fan favorite, the 1991 movie, The Addams Family. And you might automatically jump to Gomez Addams, although we will be talking about him for a bit, but Cousin It will actually be the subject of today's video. Cousin It is our true Casanova of this film, and we'll be examining why I consider him one of the greatest womanizers ever depicted in film history. And we're going to get into all of it, but I'm saving that for the end. For those of you that don't know, this is Psychology in Movies, and I am Movie Review Justin. Here at Psychology in Movies, we take certain concepts or buzzwords and look for movies that serve as good illustrations, and today our theme is related to romance and wooing women. This movie is a classic, and most people idolize the relationship between Gomez and Morticia Addams. We'll talk about them definitely, but there's actually a lot more going on in this movie. So, for context, the Addams Family is known for its dry and dark humor, poking fun at going against social norms, and watching while the so-called regular people have to hide behind fakeness and niceness in order to both tolerate and be tolerated by the Addamses. Even though the Addams themselves are off-color and deviant from social norms, their presence alone often magnifies and highlights our own weaknesses and shortcomings as a culture where we are so dominated by political correctness, fakeness, and overall lack of happiness and fulfillment. Indeed, the Addams, despite their startling and gothic outward appearance, are often the most healthy and well-adjusted, as well as the most aware of how the world works, despite a few gags to keep the movie silly and lighthearted. This is kind of something I really noticed on my last rewatch, is that while many outside characters treat the Addamses like morons that can be easily manipulated, I don't think that was the real case with the Addams. It seemed to me that they were very aware exactly what people thought about them, and not only kept that to themselves, showing great discernment and reserve, but also didn't let people's judgmental attitudes towards them change who they were in order to fully blend in with society. And that might be for the best, because the Addams seem a lot more happy than the people that surround them. The whole movie is about the Addams family, of course, and the Alfords. Alfords, am I saying that right? Either way, which Tully is the Addams' lawyer. Tully finds out that Gomez has a long-lost brother that's been missing so long that he thinks he can sneak in like a body double or inside man to pretend to be Gomez's brother, that way they can steal the treasure hidden inside their home. It's like a bunch of gold doubloons or something like that. It's pirate-looking treasure. That's not important. But of course, things happen, and since the Addams are overall a healthier family unit, they start to win over the person pretending to be Uncle Fester, who it turns out is the actual Uncle Fester, but that doesn't matter to us either. The point is, the Alfords, although more outwardly normal, serve as a sort of antithesis of the Addamses, and we'll circle back to that at the very end when we talk about Cousin It. But for now, notice how the dynamic between Morticia and Gomez is so different than the dynamic between Margaret and Tully. So I think everyone knows that the relationship between Morticia and Gomez is iconic. And I think that it's one of the most frequently referenced examples of an ideal marriage, especially amongst women. Girls always bring up how they love Gomez. He's a real lady's favorite. Now, the reason I love talking about Gomez and Cousin It is because that they aren't particularly handsome characters. So for the people that are automatically very contentious about this subject, I'll give you that Gomez is rich, but he's not constantly buying Morticia things in exchange for her interest or dependence on him. And this is very important because I think a lot of men think that simply being good looking or rich is all that you need in order to be successful with women. Which, that's my first law, by the way, is that there's no magical key or potion like having a whole bunch of money or just having great looks that guarantees anything with women. I can't even count how many men I've seen get very frustrated and upset that even when they get a whole bunch of money or they go to the gym every day and they get the biceps and the abs, that a lot of women still don't want to deal with them or show them any interest. In fact, those are the men that I see get the most angry at the dating process. So what gives? If it doesn't take riches or good looks, what does it take to be successful with women? Take Gomez. Like I said before, he's not particularly good looking, but he is particularly secure in himself, to the utmost degree. And he's passionate, which is conveyed in his speech, which is very articulate and shows good IQ and quick wit. He's fun. That's the most important thing. I believe you can be anything around women except for boring. So being fun is by far the most attractive thing that you can be as a man. I dare you to prove me a liar. Anyway, Cousin It also shares this with Gomez as well. Gomez is a good communicator, so much so that you never have to guess what he's thinking. And this is very important to build a lasting relationship.
Someone has married my brother.
No.
She took him to Hawaii.
Get out of here.
They have moved into a large, expensive home where they make love constantly.
I hate when that happens.
Arrest her at once without delay.
Who?
Debbie, my brother's wife, the temptress of Waikiki.
Who are you? What are you? Who moved the rock?
Officer, you must issue a subpoena. I believe they own
Gomez, no.
a Buick.
Just leave. Leave quietly. Leave now. Don't make me call Ringling Brothers.
Has the planet gone mad? My brother, passion's hostage. I seek justice. Denied. I shall not submit. I shall conquer. I shall rise. My name is Gomez Addams, and I have seen evil. I have seen horror. I have seen the unholy maggots which feast in the dark recesses of the human soul.
They're at camp.
I have seen all this, officer, but until today, I had never seen you.
Hook 'em, buck 'em, cook 'em. Now!
Because there's so much subtlety in each of the scenes that Gomez shares with Morticia, it would bog down the video going down each scene, trying to break apart the atoms of each interaction. But overall, watching them, I challenge you to watch the movie and see how being secure in oneself is attractive to women. And that's where I'm going to go over to Cousin It and focus on him. Cousin It is the pinnacle of being secure in oneself. I mean, just look at him. The hat, the car, the perfectly styled and brushed hair. So earlier I was talking about how I love using Cousin It and Gomez as examples because they really dispel a lot of false myths on what is truly important to having women be really into you. Cousin It is not tall. He is not handsome. He doesn't even make any sense when he talks. And that's the point. So many men are caught up on trying to find the perfect thing to say that they forget to listen and be in the moment. So many men are trying to sell themselves that their attitude is actually repulsive to lots of women. Cousin It doesn't have to sell himself to anyone. He is so comfortable in who he is that his attitude is completely different. So let's go over it. Number 1. Before anything even starts, he already feels great about himself, and one girl isn't going to change that. We get the feeling that Cousin It has tons of experience approaching women because of how bold and direct he is, but also from the Addams alerting us to this. So that means he has tons of practice, which is inevitable if you want to become good with ladies. There's no other way around it. There is no magic potion. Just like if you wanted to be good at basketball, you have to practice. It's no different with women. And you can't take losing so personally that it makes you afraid to compete, especially when all you have to do is be fun. That's why I think practicing picking up ladies is really important, because it teaches you how to be fun. Number 2. Not being bothered by rejection. We can tell Cousin It has tons of practice and that he's so comfortable in himself that he won't let it bother him if a girl is not interested. If a woman is not interested in him, then he's not interested in her. Cousin It wants to save himself for someone that truly gets and appreciates him and who deserves him. So it doesn't bother him if girls aren't interested, because that just means someone else down the road will. And this attitude helps women feel safe and at ease around him. Number 3. Choosing a target you really like. This is another subtle thing but very important to this whole situation. So if you notice, Upon entry, Cousin It is very quick to spot Margaret and almost doesn't hesitate to make his move. He's not there to just meet whoever will take him, as is often the strategy of many beginners in the dating process. Many young men swipe endlessly through online dating profiles without any discernment or vetting process, and this leads to a very poor candidate pool. And it hinders your ability to be genuinely excited about talking to someone that you're actually interested in. Just like Cousin It has everything specifically and specially tailored for him, so too does he choose a lady that he thinks is very interesting, because if you're not genuinely excited, then why even bother or waste time? Number 4, being an active listener. Active listener, good listener. Being around a listening, caring person who knows how to enjoy the vibes is so therapeutic and healthy for the soul. Since Cousin It doesn't feel the need to fake who he is to impress anyone, he is completely free mentally to just get to know Margaret and assess for himself if he is interested in her or not. So many men tie their egos to whether or not they are successful with women, but what if he had started talking to Margaret and she was really rude, or lame, or just not pleasant to be around? Do you think he should continue trying to bed an unpleasant lady? I'll say not if he has options. Not only does being a good listener help build connection and depth in a relationship and mutual enjoyment, but it also weeds out dull prospects, so Cousin It can save his valuable time for what he's really best at, being fun and mingling with good company. Really, how Cousin It is such a great listener is the whole reason I wanted to do this video for so long. What he says isn't particularly important, and he keeps it brief, whatever he says. People just seem to understand him based on his vibes and temperament. And so likewise, with the viewer listening to this, it is not important practicing what you're going to say exactly so you can get it exactly right. It's more important to practice being at ease and being fun in public environments. Number 5. Realizing that we all only have a few special people that are supposed to come into our lives. I think this is such an important lesson, and so I saved it for last, for any would-be womanizers to also understand. Even though Cousin It has met all sorts of interesting people and had all types of adventures probably, even he knows when he might have found someone special and waste no time exploring that opportunity. When we understand that only a few truly special people will enter into our lives, we're not as disappointed when not every encounter turns into a relationship. Indeed, it can actually be very liberating to be single. And this realization that some people are special in our lives helps us enjoy and appreciate those people even more and treat them accordingly. This movie is such a great jumping off point to see what works in relationships and what doesn't, starting with the Addamses and expanding to the ace Casanova, Cousin It. Contrast the Addamses' relationship also with the Alfords, which the latter is plagued by bitterness and resentment. Amongst the various themes of the movie, from estrangement to enmeshment, the relationship between Gomez and Morticia, as well as their roles as parents, is the most fleshed out. Aside from their eccentricities, they are what we would call in psychology a stable or healthy family unit, and kind of shine a light on the normalized dysfunction that exists in society and within most families that just isn't embraced or talked about, that gets swept under the rug. That's kind of what this movie expels. It normalizes family dysfunction in a way that makes it common and therefore reduces its stigma or taboo and therefore okay to talk about. I think among dysfunctional families, there is so much wasted effort and wasted energy spent on trying to appear normal as opposed to addressing the root of the dysfunction. Whereas the Addamses embrace their personal dark side, or anima as it's called in psychology, which is like a sort of shadow self, and they wear it on their sleeves. By embracing the dark parts of life head on, they are able to be more authentic and overall happier in the long run, rather than go after the fleeting pleasures we chase after when we don't know any better or how to be authentic. Most people have already seen this movie, and if you haven't, you might have missed the boat. This is a good movie, but it's not one of the world's greatest movies, and it kind of gets stronger each time you see it, so the first time, you might not think this movie is anything special. But it's fun for all ages, and there's actually a few layers and levels of humor and nuance into this movie, and like I said, it gets better, and you notice more things with each viewing. If you've gotten this far and you like content like this, please like and subscribe, as this helps the channel grow and reach new people, as well as encourages me to keep making videos. I love videos where we can use characters from movies as examples to illustrate a concept. What are some things you might have noticed about Gomez or Morticia? Or what are some other great examples of Casanovas in other films? What do you think works on women? And maybe I'll argue with you in the comments. This has been Psychology in Movies. I am Movie Review Justin. Thank you so much for watching, and stay healthy and informed.